Welcome to another quiet evening with historical nights. As the day gently releases its grip and night begins to settle around you, take a moment to breathe deeply. Let your eyes grow heavy, and allow your thoughts to soften, drifting like candle smoke through the corridors of memory. Tonight, we journey together, not into a world of imagination, but into the soft, crumbling shadows of history. A history shaped not by myth, but by stone, by silence, and by the passing of time. Let your mind relax into the rhythm of a world long past. This evening, we are going to travel to the crossroads of continents, where Europe meets Asia, and East mingles with West. Where walls of stone once touched the sky, and golden domes shimmered like dawn itself. We are traveling to Constantinople, the fabled, fragile city that for over 1,000 years stood as a beacon of faith, power, and endurance. Tonight, we arrive in the final days. The last quiet spring of the Byzantine Empire. The year is 1453. But time, in this place, moves differently. The stones beneath your feet carry the weight of empires. The wind that stirs the olive trees whispers the voices of emperors, crusaders, saints, and ordinary people whose names are lost to time. The city, once known as Byzantium, then reborn as Constantinople, has lived many lives. Tonight, we visit one of its last. You won't need to follow closely. There will be no tests, no lists to memorize. The stories you hear tonight will flow gently, woven like a soft tapestry, designed not to excite the mind, but to quiet it. If you drift away into sleep, that is exactly as it should be. The story will wait. We will begin by walking through a day in the life of the city, its scents, sounds, and textures, the slow unfolding of daily routine. Then, we will turn our gaze to the emperor, Constantine XI Palaiologos, a young man with an old soul, carrying the weight of a dying empire. From there, we will sink deeper into the foundations of the city, into its ancient walls, its sacred rituals, and the slow, invisible decay hidden beneath centuries of grandeur. And finally, we will glimpse the world of those who stood apart from the common streets, wealthy families, court nobles, merchants from distant lands. All of them, caught in the gentle pause before the fall. The fall of Constantinople is often told as a dramatic end, a fiery siege, a clash of empires. But tonight, we step away from the noise. We listen instead to the quiet things, the scratch of a pen across parchment, the creak of a ship's hull in the harbor, the hush of candlelight within a darkened chapel. This is not a tale of war. It is a tale of waiting. Of holding on. Of quiet beauty in the shadow of inevitability. So now. Settle in. Let the light dim around you. The past is ready. Close your eyes. And imagine yourself in the city once called the Queen of Cities, where every stone has a story. And every breath may be the last before the turning of an age. We begin now, in the cool, gentle light of morning, with the daily rhythms of a fading empire. Oh, and if you're enjoying these stories, I'd really appreciate a like or subscribe. I am super curious where you're all listening from. So, drop a comment with your location and what time it is there. Always blows my mind how people are falling asleep to this all over the world. Now, close your eyes for a moment, and imagine yourself waking in the heart of Constantinople. It is a spring morning in the year 1453. The air is cool but growing warmer, touched by a breeze from the Sea of Marmara. There is a softness in the light, muted gold, like the pages of an old illuminated manuscript. The sky above the city is pale, brushed with the faintest hints of rose and gray. You rise slowly, not with urgency, but with calm ritual. The day is beginning, as it always does, with the gentle stirrings of a city that has seen more dawns than memory can hold. You are in the Blocherny district, near the northwestern edge of the city. The neighborhood, though modest, is deeply rooted in tradition. Stone houses with wooden shutters line narrow, winding streets. Small gardens spill over fences, lavender, sage, and the climbing arms of grapevines. The scent of baked clay and cool dew lingers in the air. From your window, you can hear the first calls of vendors in the marketplace below. Not loud, not urgent, just voices marking the start of another day. The soft clink of amphorae being arranged. The shuffle of cloth being unfurled from a stall. Somewhere, a donkey brays lazily, shaking the dust from its coat. This is Constantinople, the queen of cities. It is a city in its twilight, but you would not know it by this morning. For life, even under the weight of uncertainty, continues with grace. You wrap a woolen shawl around your shoulders and step into the street. The stones beneath your feet are worn smooth, bearing the trace of centuries. Each path has been walked by emperors, monks, merchants, and soldiers, though today, it is mostly craftsmen and neighbors you will meet. As you walk, your senses are gently filled. The scent of baking bread wafts from a nearby oven, a flat, round loaf with a slightly sour aroma, made from barley and wheat. You pause to greet the baker, an older man with a kind face and flour-dusted sleeves. His daughter sweeps the threshold with a straw broom, humming a hymn under her breath. To your left, a shopkeeper is arranging baskets of figs, olives, and dried herbs. The figs are plump and dark, split at the seams, their sweetness mingling with the earthy scent of bay leaves and thyme. He nods as you pass. No need for words. These routines are well worn. As the morning stretches onward, the city stirs into fuller life. You pass a small chapel, one of many tucked between homes and walls. Its wooden doors are open, revealing a dim interior where candles flicker before faded icons. The scent of beeswax and myrrh drifts outward. A woman kneels just inside, whispering a quiet prayer. Her child, too young to understand the gravity of words, plays quietly with a small wooden cross. Further along the avenue, you reach the Forum, though it is not what it once was. Once, it was filled with towering statues and marble columns. Now, much of the grandeur has been replaced with practicality. Traders set up low tables of pottery, iron tools, coarse cloth dyed with madder root and indigo. Children chase one another between the stalls, their laughter a delicate thread weaving through the more measured hum of adult voices. Imagine the soundscape, a rhythmic tap of a cobbler's hammer, the soft clatter of ceramic bowls being stacked, the chant of a monk walking past, his voice low and constant. Here, people speak in a mix of languages, Greek most of all, but also Italian, Armenian, and Turkish. Constantinople remains a place of meeting, even as its power wanes. Merchants from Genoa and Venice still trade here, though less frequently now. They are wary. They have heard the rumors. Still, business must be done, and silver still carries weight. You stop to speak with a weaver, her hands darkened with dye. She speaks of the weather, the scarcity of wool, the rumors of troops gathering beyond the Bosphorus. Her tone is calm, but her eyes flicker with something quieter, concern, perhaps. Or simply fatigue. The uncertainty of the world has pressed inward, like an incoming tide. You move on. As midday approaches, the sun climbs higher. The city's light changes, sharper now, casting shadows that fall long and cool between buildings. In the harbor, sails catch the breeze. Fishing boats move lazily across the water, their crews pulling in nets heavy with silvered scales. Seagulls circle overhead, their cries distant and sharp. By the docks, the rhythm is different, brisker. The water laps gently against the piers, and the scent of salt mingles with tar and old rope. Here, dock workers lift crates of dried dates, sacks of grain, and bundles of cinnamon wrapped in thick cloth. You pause, watching as they move in practiced unison. Each action deliberate, unhurried. You find a shaded bench beside a wall covered in creeping ivy. The stone is warm beneath your hand. From here, you watch the city move around you. Not in haste, but with purpose. A priest leads a small procession, 2 acolytes before him bearing incense, their censers swinging in slow arcs. Behind him, a woman carries a pale bundle wrapped in linen. A baptism, perhaps. Or a funeral. In this city, one often follows the other, as closely as breath and silence. You think of Hagia Sophia, its dome still rising high over the city. It stands in the distance, visible from nearly every quarter. Not just a church, but a symbol. Its mosaics shimmer faintly in the sunlight. Even from afar, its presence is felt. A reminder of divine order, of continuity, of something larger than walls and gates. As afternoon deepens, you return home. The streets begin to grow quieter, not from fear or curfew, but from the city's natural rhythm. It is a time of rest. Windows open, cloth awnings draw cool shadows over doorways. Within homes, people prepare simple meals, lentils stewed with garlic, olives crushed and mixed with oil, bread dipped in wine and shared with care. Inside your own home, the light slants across the floor in golden beams. Dust motes drift lazily in the sun. You sit beside the window with a book, its cover worn, its pages soft from use. Perhaps it is a collection of psalms, or a work of ancient philosophy. The words are familiar, their meaning fluid. They calm the mind. Outside, the sounds of the city have softened. A lute plays faintly from a neighbor's courtyard. Someone sings, low, melodic, half prayer, half lullaby. The call to prayer from a distant mosque reaches your ears too, a reminder of the Ottoman presence beyond the walls, and within them, as well. Cultures intertwine here, not always peacefully, but inescapably. The city breathes with more than one voice. And so, the evening arrives. Lanterns are lit. Not all at once, but gradually, like stars. Small flames behind colored glass, flickering gold and crimson. The streets glow with their soft light. The scent of cooking drifts again, now richer, darker. Meat stewed with coriander. Chickpeas roasted in clay ovens. Honey drizzled on flat cakes. You return to the chapel, this time alone. The candlelight within is softer now, more forgiving. The icons, worn by touch and time, seem to watch with quiet patience. You kneel. Not to ask for anything, perhaps, but to listen. To be still. The city is old, and wise, and full of sorrow. but also full of grace. And when the night comes fully, and you lie again in your small, cool room, the sounds of the city fold into one another. The low murmur of voices, the hush of wind through shutters, the occasional bark of a dog far off. You close your eyes. And in the silence that follows, you feel it, the rhythm of the city. Slow. Constant. Like breath. Like sleep. Constantinople, even in its final spring, is still very much alive. Not with conquest, or splendor, or fire, but with people. With quiet lives, lived in quiet dignity. With bread baked each morning. With lamps lit each night. And in this rhythm, there is peace. Let us leave the quiet neighborhoods for now, and turn our gaze eastward, toward the rising sun. Imagine the sky, still pale with early light, casting long shadows across domes and battlements. From high above the city, the horizon shimmers faintly. And there, against that light, is a figure standing on the walls. He stands motionless, one hand resting lightly on the stone. The breeze tugs gently at his cloak. His face is calm, yet lined with a weariness deeper than sleep. This is Constantine Palaiologos, the last emperor of Byzantium. Constantine XI. To understand this man is not to see him only as ruler or soldier, but as something quieter. A symbol. A steward of something ancient, enduring, and fading. He was born in 1405, in a world already trembling at the edges. The empire had long since lost its great provinces. The golden lands of Anatolia, the green hills of Greece, the ports of Syria and Egypt, all were gone. What remained was the city, its hinterlands, and the memories. His father was Emperor Manuel II. His mother, Helena Dragas, descended from Serbian nobility. Constantine was raised amid political uncertainty and religious complexity. He was taught to read both scripture and strategy, to navigate not only wars, but the corridors of Byzantine diplomacy. He grew up not in grandeur, but in survival. By the time he was crowned emperor in 1449, there was little left to rule. Constantinople was no longer the capital of a vast empire, but the heart of a memory. Still, he ruled with quiet dignity. Imagine him walking the colonnades of the Blacherny Palace. Not with servants and guards in splendid procession, but with scholars, scribes, and weary generals. They would speak in hushed tones about supplies, fortifications, and the latest messages from Genoa and Venice. Always, there was the question, would help come? Beyond the city, the Ottoman Empire had grown vast and powerful. Under Sultan Mehmed II, young, brilliant, determined, the tide was rising fast. Constantine had seen it coming. He knew the weight of the moment. In the spring of 1453, the siege began. Picture it now, the first signs not of attack, but of approach. Ottoman scouts appearing on distant hills. Ships gathering in the straits. Rumors trickling in like smoke. The people of Constantinople, those who had baked bread, lit lanterns, stitched robes, looked to the horizon with quiet dread. Then came the army. Tens of thousands. Soldiers, engineers, siege masters. And at their center, the young sultan. Imagine the sight, a sea of tents, rising like a second city beyond the walls. Campfires at night, flickering across the hills. The murmur of voices in unfamiliar tongues. And the great guns, massive cannon forged in Hungarian foundries, dragged by oxen across muddy fields. Mehmed was not a barbarian, nor without vision. He admired the city. He understood its legacy. But he wanted it for his own. And so, the siege was not only a matter of conquest, but of destiny. Within the city, Constantine prepared. He walked the walls, spoke to the people. He worked beside masons to reinforce crumbling towers, consulted engineers to devise countermeasures. He sent messages west, begging for aid. He called upon allies, Genoese, Venetians, even a few brave mercenaries. They came in small numbers. Noble gestures. But not enough. He prayed in Hagia Sophia. He ordered fasts and processions. He asked the people to hold faith, not only in victory, but in meaning. Imagine the sound of hammering echoing through the city. New barricades rising. Arrows being fletched. Oil being boiled. The smell of resin and tallow thick in the air. Outside the gates, the Ottomans dug trenches and built platforms. The cannon were positioned. One, known as Basilica, was so large it could fire a stone projectile weighing over half a ton. Its boom would echo like thunder, rattling windows, shaking the ground. And so the rhythm of the siege began. Each day, the sun rose over a city waiting. The cannon would fire. The walls would tremble. Dust and fragments would fall like leaves. Men would run to reinforce breaches. Cries of pain and orders shouted into smoke. And then, as the sun set, the silence would return. Fires lit, wounds bound, prayers offered. Constantine moved through this rhythm not as a king on high, but as a soldier among many. He dined simply. He took no pleasure in ceremony. He wrote to friends and enemies alike, not with arrogance, but with urgency and grace. His letters spoke of duty, of heritage, of the sacredness of the city, but also, of realism. He knew the odds. He knew that aid from the West would likely not come in time. Yet he never fled. That is what many remember of him. Not that he fought, but that he stayed. The days of siege turned into weeks. The walls cracked and crumbled. Small breaches were filled with timber, rubble, and hope. The defenders were brave, but few. The city was surrounded not only by men, but by time itself. Inside, the people continued their lives. Women tended the wounded in candlelit chapels. Children whispered in corners, told stories of angels and emperors. Priests moved quietly among the dying, offering last rites with hands blackened by ash. In the final days, Constantine made a choice. He gathered his advisors. There were no illusions. The city would fall. But not without one last stand. On the night before the final assault, May 28th, he walked through the city. Not in armor, but in silence. Imagine him now, moving through the torchlit streets. Past chapels where monks prayed softly. Past homes where families sat huddled together. Past statues of saints and emperors, their faces worn smooth. He returned to Hagia Sophia. There, under the great dome, lit by the trembling flames of hundreds of candles, he knelt. A final liturgy was held. Greek and Latin Christians, once divided, now stood together. They sang hymns not for victory, but for courage. For farewell. It is said that Constantine removed his imperial robes that night, and donned the armor of a simple soldier. Whether this is fact or legend, it speaks to his memory. He did not wish to be remembered as a ruler behind a curtain, but as a man who stood. And on the morning of May 29th, the city fell. The final assault came before dawn. The cannon roared, and waves of Ottoman soldiers surged toward the broken walls. The defenders held, then faltered, then fell. Constantine was last seen near the gate of St. Romanus, sword drawn, surrounded by his men. He fought. He disappeared into the crush of battle. His body was never found. Some say he died with a prayer on his lips. Others say he slipped away and became legend, hidden in marble, waiting to rise again when the city is free. But there are no miracles. Only memories. When the smoke cleared, the city was silent. The emperor was gone. The empire was no more. But still, the legacy endured. In the hearts of those who knew him, Constantine XI was not just the last emperor, but the last guardian. A man who stood when all else failed. A man who chose dignity over escape, silence over spectacle. And even now, when you walk the ruins of Constantinople, when you stand before Hagia Sophia, or trace the broken lines of the old Theodosian walls, you may feel it. Not just loss, but quiet strength. The strength of one man, in one city, at the edge of time. And in the rhythm of his final days, we hear something deeper than defeat. We hear faith. We hear courage. We hear stillness. Now, let us descend. Not downward in fear, but in curiosity. Let us leave behind the noise of war and the urgency of empire. And step instead into the layers of time that rest beneath our feet. Constantinople is a city of surfaces, its gleaming domes, its fortified walls, its marketplaces alive with sound. But beneath that visible world, beneath stone and soil, beneath centuries of footsteps and ash, lies another city. A city of shadows, of silence, of memory. Imagine yourself now standing at the edge of a narrow stairwell, tucked behind a quiet chapel. The sun is high above, but here in this shaded place, the air is cooler. A faint dampness clings to the stones. You step forward, slowly, your hand brushing against a wall carved with faint symbols, crosses, circles, words half faded with age. You descend. And with each step, the world above grows quieter. This is the subterranean Constantinople, hidden not only by architecture, but by time itself. A city buried beneath a city, layer upon layer, cisterns, catacombs, vaults, and forgotten sanctuaries. Let us begin with water. One of the greatest hidden wonders of the city is the Basilica Cistern, Yerebitan Sarnasai, the sunken palace. Built in the 6th century during the reign of Emperor Justinian I, this vast underground chamber once stored water drawn from aqueducts stretching miles away into Thrace. Imagine it. A forest of marble columns, over 300 in total, rising from shallow black waters. Their reflections ripple gently, disturbed only by the soft fall of water drops from the vaulted ceilings. Some of the columns are plain, others are carved with delicate leaves, spirals, or fluted edges. And deep in one shadowed corner, two stone heads of Medusa lie sideways at the base of columns, no one knows why. They are not from this building, likely taken from a pagan temple, repurposed in quiet defiance or reverence. It is still. Timeless. The only sound is the distant drip, drip, drip of water. And your footsteps on the damp stone walkways that wind through the gloom. This cistern is but one of many. There are dozens, some grand, some forgotten. The Binberderek cistern, near the hippodrome, smaller but older. Others lie sealed, their entrances bricked up and lost beneath modern buildings. But beneath them all lies a single truth: Constantinople was always prepared. It was a city that planned for siege, for drought, for war. And so it built not just up, but down. It stored water. It hid treasure. It buried its secrets. Now, imagine another descent. This time, into the crypt of a forgotten chapel. Perhaps in the monastery of Christ Pantocrator, once a center of learning and healing. You push open a wooden door, its hinges creaking softly. Inside, the air is thick with the scent of incense long past. Dust drapes everything like a soft shroud. Here, beneath the stones, lie tombs, emperors and empresses, buried not in gold, but in silence. Their names are worn smooth. Their marble sarcophagi are cracked by time. Yet the presence remains. Imagine the low flicker of a torch as it catches on mosaics, pieces of colored glass forming faces long forgotten. A saint, perhaps. Or a mother mourning a son. The artistry is precise, reverent. Even in hidden places, beauty was not spared. Elsewhere, beneath Hagia Sophia itself, lies a warren of chambers. Some were once storerooms. Others, cisterns. Some, more mysterious. There are rumors, always rumors. Of secret tunnels stretching beneath the Bosphorus, built to allow escape or passage to distant monasteries. Of chambers where relics were hidden, fragments of the true cross, bones of martyrs, scrolls of forbidden texts. Some say the emperors had hidden passageways leading from the palace to the hippodrome, or even to the sea. No conclusive proof has been found, but the city itself seems to hum with the suggestion of them. Narrow passages blocked by rubble. Hollow-sounding walls. Stairs that lead nowhere. There are hidden libraries, too. Not grand vaults of gold and velvet, but quiet rooms in monasteries. Shelves lined with codices, some copied in candlelight by monks whose names were never known. Works of Aristotle, Galen, Origen, commentaries in Greek, Syriac, and Latin. Some of these texts were smuggled out before the fall. Others vanished. Perhaps they still wait, walled away in basements beneath modern buildings. Perhaps they are lost forever. Even above ground, secrets whisper. Take the mosaics of the Kora Church, now known as Kuriai Mosque. Tucked within its walls are some of the most delicate, moving works of art in Byzantine history. Christ, not as conqueror, but as healer. The Virgin, not as queen, but as mother. Angels whose wings stretch across curved ceilings, their eyes wide, their faces calm. Every inch of space is touched with meaning, small gestures, subtle tilts of the head, hands that reach gently rather than command. These mosaics were covered after the Ottoman conquest. Plastered over, hidden from sight. And for centuries, they slept beneath layers of lime and silence. Until, slowly, they were uncovered again. Scraped clean. Revealed once more. Not to reclaim power, but to witness beauty. This is the nature of Constantinople's secrets. Not terrifying. Not dramatic. But intimate. They are not grand revelations, but quiet preservations. Not everything was destroyed. Some things, simply waited. And so we wander. Through arches cracked by roots. Through stairwells long abandoned. Past doors that no longer open, but once did. Beneath the street level of today's Istanbul lie entire neighborhoods, Byzantine homes, their courtyards still outlined in faded stone. Clay amphorae half buried, coins lost in dust, oil lamps still blackened at the wick. Imagine discovering such a place. You kneel, brushing away centuries of earth. Your fingers touch something once held in another hand. A comb carved from bone. A child's toy. A tile painted with cobalt blue. You feel, not the thrill of conquest, but the stillness of connection. Time folds gently. And across that fold, you are not so far from them. They too lived. Ate figs from the market. Prayed in quiet chapels. Sought comfort in stories. And buried their fears beneath stones and soil. What else lies beneath? Scholars debate. Some believe there are entire catacombs yet to be found. Others suspect ancient Roman roads still lie preserved beneath more recent layers. Occasionally, a construction project uncovers a wall, a column, a mosaic. Work halts. Archaeologists arrive. The city sighs and reveals a little more. And sometimes, nothing is found at all. Only silence. But even that silence carries meaning. Because in Constantinople, what is hidden is not forgotten. It is simply resting. Waiting. Like the mosaics beneath plaster. Like the cisterns beneath the stones. Like the prayers whispered in lost tongues. And perhaps, in this moment of stillness, with the world outside growing quiet, you feel it too, that quiet patience, that weight of memory. Let your mind wander now. Through the hidden chambers. Past Medusa's gaze. Down the dripping halls of cisterns. Into the dark corners where a scribe once held his pen, and wrote the world into being. Here, in this darkness, there is no fear. Only the rhythm of water. The hush of earth. The steady beat of time. The secrets of Constantinople are not meant to startle. They are meant to cradle you, softly, gently, like hands holding memory. And as you drift through them, let your breath slow. Let the weight of centuries rest lightly on your shoulders. And know that in these quiet, buried places, you are never alone. As the shadows lengthen over the city, and the golden light fades softly from marble pillars and tiled floors, imagine yourself stepping into a different world. Not the bustling streets or the muddy alleys, but the quiet corridors of the imperial palace, a world both luminous and subdued, a place where power, ritual, and fragile beauty mingle beneath soaring domes and delicate mosaics. This is the twilight of an empire. The time when the walls themselves seem to hold their breath. The palace, the home of emperors, empresses, and courtiers, rises upon the hill of Blacherny, overlooking the Golden Horn and the Bosphorus. Its stones are worn smooth by centuries of footsteps, its halls echo with whispered prayers, delicate laughter, and the soft rustle of silk. Here, the rhythm of daily life unfolds slowly, measured by ceremony and the quiet demands of tradition. Imagine now the morning light filtering through stained glass windows. Colors spill across tapestries woven with gold thread. The scent of fresh herbs and beeswax fills the air, mingling with the faint aroma of incense burning in distant chapels. In one chamber, the Empress awakens. Her bed is draped with heavy silk curtains, embroidered with the imperial double-headed eagle. The attendants move quietly, their footsteps muffled by thick carpets dyed in deep reds and blues. A servant offers cool water scented with rose. Another gently brushes the Empress's dark hair, knotting it with pearls and ribbons. She rises slowly, her movements graceful but deliberate. The weight of her status is felt in every gesture, not as burden, but as a familiar cloak. Her morning begins with prayers. She kneels on a richly embroidered cushion, hands folded. The soft chant of monks drifts from the palace chapel. The words, ancient and solemn, weave a tapestry of faith and hope. Imagine the quiet glow of candles flickering on gilded icons. The cool stone floor beneath her knees. The distant murmur of the city waking beyond the palace walls. After prayers, the Empress joins her ladies-in-waiting in the solar, a small, sunlit room where they share stories, embroider silk, and discuss the news brought by messengers. These women are not only companions, but confidants. Their lives intertwined in the delicate dance of court politics and personal loyalties. They speak softly of alliances, marriages arranged with Venetian nobles or Genoese merchants, of gifts sent to distant lands, of rumors circulating through the city. Outside the solar, the palace hums with preparation. Attendants polish bronze candlesticks. Pages carry scrolls to and fro. Musicians tune lyres and flutes for afternoon entertainment. Imagine the subtle contrast here, the splendor of delicate silk and shining gold, set against the backdrop of a city under siege, its fate uncertain. Within these walls, the elite live their lives with quiet determination, as if to prove that beauty and order endure even as the world shifts beneath them. The emperor himself, Constantine XI before the siege, moves with a different rhythm. While the empress attends to ritual and repose, the emperor's day is measured by counsel and strategy. He meets with generals, listening to reports of distant skirmishes and supply shortages. He consults with diplomats, reading letters penned in delicate scripts, sent by hopeful allies. Picture the emperor seated at a heavy wooden table, maps spread before him. He traces the lines of ancient roads, the walls of the city, the positions of Ottoman camps beyond. His face is composed, eyes steady. He does not speak loudly, but when he does, his voice carries quiet authority. Later, he may take a solitary walk through the palace gardens. Imagine those gardens now, an oasis of calm amid turmoil. Rows of fragrant herbs and blooming jasmine. Stone fountains trickling water in gentle arcs. Olive trees casting dappled shadows on the tiled paths. Here, the emperor could find a moment's peace. Perhaps he paused by a small marble bench, watching bees flit among lavender. Perhaps he breathed deeply the scent of rosemary and sage, letting the calm wash over him. But always, the city's fate weighed heavy. In the afternoon, music fills the halls. Musicians play soft melodies on the lyre and oud, their fingers moving carefully across strings. Courtiers gather to listen, sipping sweetened wine and nibbling on spiced nuts. Imagine the delicate fabrics swaying in the candlelight. The gentle laughter of ladies exchanging compliments on embroidery and jewels. Even amid uncertainty, life persists. Meals in the palace are quiet affairs. Imagine long tables laden with dishes of honey-glazed fruits, fresh bread, olives, and roasted lamb. The air rich with aromas of cinnamon and clove. Attendants move silently, refilling goblets of mulled wine. Conversations revolve around poetry, theology, and the latest news from the docks. There is no loud mirth, no boisterous revelry. Instead, a measured grace. A recognition that each moment is precious. At night, the palace grows still. Torches flicker along stone corridors. The soft murmur of prayers drifts from the chapel. Imagine the emperor and empress retiring to their chambers, the hush of silk curtains falling into place. Perhaps they exchanged few words, but shared the comfort of presence. Outside, the city sleeps uneasy. The distant boom of cannon is muted by distance. The watchman's calls echo faintly from the walls. Within, the palace holds its breath. This life, this delicate dance of power, ritual, and beauty, stands in quiet contrast to the turmoil beyond. It is the final chapter of an ancient story. And as you imagine these moments, soft footsteps, whispered prayers, the faint scent of jasmine, you may feel the rhythm of a world on the edge. A world where the fading light still catches the sparkle of jewels. Where every breath is both fragile and strong. Where history is not only recorded in battles and sieges, but in the gentle unfolding of daily life. And in that rhythm, a reminder. That even as empires fall, and cities change, and time moves onward, there is grace. There is stillness. There is the quiet beauty of being. And now, the story grows quiet. The streets are still. The towers that once held watch over empires are now worn smooth by time and weather. The wind that once carried the sound of prayers, of banners flapping, and distant drums, now moves softly through olive branches and stone archways. Constantinople, once the queen of cities, is no more. But its echo remains. Perhaps you feel it now, softly, like a ripple across still water. Not a sense of loss, but a sense of stillness. So much has been told about the fall of Constantinople, the siege, the cannon fire, the final charge. But here, in the quiet of night, we've seen a different side. We've walked its markets at dawn, heard the voices of bakers and monks, traced the paths of weary nobles and resolute emperors. We've followed Constantine XI, not into glory or legend, but into quiet resolve. A man aware of the hour in which he stood, and the shape of the legacy he would leave behind. We've listened for forgotten voices in stone and soil, and glimpsed the tender rituals of a court that knew the world it loved was passing. And now, we are left not with shouts or songs of conquest, but with something far more enduring. A breath. A memory. A whisper across time. Constantinople stood for over 1,000 years. Longer than most can imagine. It weathered invasions, betrayals, famines, and fires. And yet it remained, layered with faith, philosophy, art, and quiet endurance. Even as the world changed around it, the people within its walls lived their lives. They rose with the sun. They baked bread. They sang hymns. They stitched robes. They told stories. Just as we have tonight. And now, in this quiet space between waking and sleep, let that long, slow rhythm of life continue within you. The rhythm of their days. The rhythm of ours. There is peace in knowing that everything passes, kingdoms, names, even cities. But in their passing, they leave behind not only ruins, but reflections. And in those reflections, we find ourselves. Tonight, as you lie at rest, safe, warm, far from sieges and falling towers, know that even the greatest empires fade gently in the end. And from their fading comes stillness. And from stillness, comes sleep. Let the voices of the past fall silent now. Let the dust settle once more. Let the city sleep, as you sleep. The stars above are the same that once shone over the dome of Hagia Sophia. The night air still carries the hush of time. And now, there is nothing more to do. But to breathe. And to rest. And to let the story go. You are safe. You are still. You are far from the walls. Good night. From Historical Nights. Until next time.